It seems to me that many people live their lives on the surface and go through life hiding their true natures from the world in an attempt to present a facade of normality, whatever concept normality has at any particular time and in the circumstances of their lives. Now, that is where the characters in Iris Murdoch's novels are different. Most of Iris Murdoch's characters, drawn mainly from the British upper classes and the aristocracy, tend to live their inner lives on the outside, revealing all kinds of inclinations and behavior that most people tend to hide from the world. In doing so, she confronted a lot of issues that were previously taboo in most writing, including incest. Now, Murdoch is considered by many of the academic intelligentsia to be one of the greatest novelists of the 20th century. Being a professor of philosophy at Oxford University, she certainly had the credentials for it. But unlike a lot of academic writers, she is a highly entertaining novelist, combining interesting characters and ideas with an ability to keep you turning the pages. Iris Murdoch is one of the few writers who ever kept me waiting impatiently for her next novel. I just couldn't wait to read the next one, until Alzheimer's got the better of her and silenced her forever. A couple of years ago, there was a marvelous movie about her called simply Iris, starring Dame-Judy-Dench as the older Iris as she descends into Alzheimer's, and Kate-Winslet, the most recent Oscar winner, as the younger Iris. Now, the trailer to this movie has a most inappropriate Darth Vader-style narration, but it does sum up who Iris Murdoch was.
Her name was Iris Murdoch.
Are you with Iris?
Hoping so.
She challenged the boundaries of what was true.
I'd like you to read this.
What's it about?
How to be good, how to be free.
You love words, don't you?
One doesn't have words, how does one think?
She pushed the limits of what was safe.
She likes people with a bit of a past, don't you?
Do like women? I mean, do you go to bed with them?
Iris, wait for me!
Just keep tight hold of me and it'll be all right!
I can't catch up with you!
But only one.
Perhaps it's time we made love.
Yes?
Would be there in her youth.
People, of course, are very secretive. People have obsessions which they don't admit to.
And would love her all her life.
She's a noted philosopher, an honorary fellow, as well as author of some 26 novels.
A little excessive, don't you think? There is only one freedom of any importance whatsoever. That of the mind.
Now, two of the most acclaimed actresses of their time bring to the screen one of the most extraordinary women of her time.
Does she know anything about her past?
Most of my other friends are older than me.
Much older. Yes, there's a very good reason for that, isn't there?
Is there? What?
She likes people with a bit of a past. She uses them, don't you?
No, I don't.
For your novel. Don't you, Iris?
I'm now going to read the opening of her novel, The Bell, one of her early novels, first published in 1958. It is set in an abbey, and the bell of the title refers to the ancient original bell of the abbey, which has been missing for many years, but is suddenly rediscovered, setting off a strange train of events, as in many of her novels. Here it goes. Dora Greenfield left her husband because she was afraid of him. She decided 6 months later to return to him for the same reason. The absent Paul, haunting her with letters and telephone bells and imagined footsteps on the stairs, had begun to be the greater torment. Dora suffered from guilt, and with guilt came fear. She decided at last that the persecution of his presence was to be preferred to the persecution of his absence. Dora was still very young, though she vaguely thought of herself as past her prime. She came of a lower middle-class London family. Her father had died when she was 9 years old, and a mother, with whom she had never got on very well, had married again. When Dora was 18, she entered the Slade School of Art with a scholarship, and had been there for 2 years when she encountered Paul. The role of an art student suited Dora. It was indeed the only role she had ever been able wholeheartedly to play. She had been an ugly and wretched schoolgirl. As a student she grew plump and peach-like, and had a little pocket money of her own, which she spent on big multicolored skirts and jazz records and sandals. At that time, which although it was only 3 years ago, now seemed unimaginably remote, she had been happy. Dora, who had so lately discovered in herself a talent for happiness, was the more dismayed to find that she could be happy neither with her husband nor without him. Paul Greenfield, who was 13 years older than his wife, was an art historian connected with the Courtauld Institute. He came of an old family of German bankers and had money of his own. He had been born in England and attended an English public school and preferred not to remember the distinction of his ancestors. Although his assets were never idle, he did not speak of stocks and shares. He first met Dora when he came to lecture on medieval wood carving at the Slade. Dora had accepted his proposal of marriage without hesitation, and for a great many reasons. She married him for his good taste and his flat in Knightsbridge. She married him for a certain integrity and a nobility of character which she saw in him. She married him because he was so wonderfully more grown up than her thin, neurotic art student friends. She married him a little for his money. She admired him and was extremely flattered by his attentions. She hoped, by making what her mother, who was bursting with envy, called a good marriage, to be able to get inside society and learn how to behave, although this was something she did not put clearly to herself at the time. She married finally because of the demonic intensity of Paul's desire for her. He was a passionate and poetic suitor, and of something exotic in him touched Dora's imagination. Starved throughout her meagre education, and unsatisfied still amid the rather childish and provincial gaieties of her student life. Dora, though insufficiently reflective to suffer from strong inferiority feelings, had never valued herself highly. She was amazed that Paul should notice her at all, and she passed quickly from this amazement to the luxurious pleasure of being able so easily to delight this subtle and unsophisticated person. She never doubted that she was in love. Like most of Iris Murdoch's novels, The Bell has some very unusual characters and very unusual circumstances, as it probes very deeply beneath the surface of life among the English upper and middle classes. I am not quite sure yet which novelist that I will be featuring in my next video. It could be one of a number. So you will be in tenterhooks, or I will be in tenterhooks as much as you. For now, goodbye.